OK, where are we with this? On Sunday, we don't have anything necessary to vote on because the Eurogroup has withdrawn the offer.
I think the difficulty at the moment is that positioning coming into Friday and Saturday's news flow was actually quite pro-European equities. And I think a lot of people would have been caught off guard, not only by the referendum call, but also by the fact that capital controls were implemented.
That's 3 a.m. Athens time today, some 4.5 hours ago, thereabouts. Now, the thing is, what were people looking at as they went into this? They're thinking that there was going to be some sort of fudge agreement made, as there has been in the past.
That's right. I think the wind was blowing towards an agreement and that there was going to be one big negotiated settlement and they would finally get the payment made on June the 30th. And unfortunately, I think the markets misread the fact that almost a week ago they'd already started to, how should I say, tamper with possibly introducing capital controls. And I think that really was the sea change.
Shutting the banks, capital controls, shutting the banks for over a week. Now, the thing is, does that effectively mean that Greece is financially, at the moment, well, rudderless completely?
Well, it's insolvent in many ways now, not just fiscally, but sort of the banking system will find it very hard to manage itself. I guess what they will possibly try to do is wait for after the vote and then possibly renegotiate, go for a renegotiation of the debt. It doesn't mean that they leave the euro, but of course they could just go out and once again try to reschedule the debt. But the banking system would still remain pretty much as it is today.
How on earth are they going to make that $1.5 billion payment to the IMF?
I think there's a very low probability of that. There are some mechanisms in which they can draw funds in from other areas, but I think the probability is very low that that will be made. That doesn't necessarily mean that they go into default. So a default
does not necessarily mean you have to leave the Eurozone?
It doesn't mean, first of all, just because they don't pay that sum of 1.6 billion euros, they will actually just be in arrears to the IMF, not necessarily in default.
What's the difference? It's just semantics?
Legal semantics. But the second thing is that there's no mechanism for countries to actually leave the euro. So, again, they wouldn't necessarily be forced out. And that's why I think possibly down the road we get some form again of a renegotiated debt settlement. I
think the biggest headline that we had this morning was from our guest was Mohamed El-Erian talking about an 85% chance that they leave the euro area.
Well, I think coming into the election, there was still over 70% of the population that wanted to remain in the euro. Whether or not on the ground things have become so deteriorated so badly.
70% also want an end to austerity.
that was unfortunately one of those dichotomies. But I think, as you saw with Cyprus, at the end of the day, people knew the value of actually being within the euro. And that to some extent is the sort of poster child for everybody else now with Greece.
They went for a bail-in, didn't they, at the end of the day? That's the thing.
Well, that's true, and who knows what will... I think the issue now remains is that this time round you're actually dealing with a banking system which is insolvent. And that's the biggest difficulty for whoever takes over now from after the referendum.